Jordan Gough, welcome to Liverpool. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good.
So apparently you've got a vendetta against work being boring. You're a Scrum Master / team coach and gamification believer. You put people in teams first. You're value driven. You're also a dad, geek, and esports enthusiast, and late diagnosed ADHD. Is that your profile? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I think it's fairly accurate, or I'd like it to be fairly accurate. That's what I seem to work towards.
Cool. So we've got a bit of a tradition where I'll do a bit of LinkedIn stalking, pull out a post that piques my interest. So these are in your words. So been thinking about this one for a bit. Delivery focused Scrum Masters. Surely we are all delivery focused? ? But are we focused on the wrong things? Socrates said, beware the barrenness of a busy life, which to me is as simple as just because you filled your time doing stuff doesn't mean it's the right stuff, and perhaps you can neglect the stuff that really matters. What triggered that?
I think I've just seen like a lot of posts online, a lot of Reddit, LinkedIn discussions amongst Scrum Masters that I already knew. And there's always a question of, I think, firstly, I tend to try and do things a bit differently in my approach to continuous improvement. Perhaps sometimes a bit too much. I invest a lot of time and effort into doing it, but it's because it makes me happy. But I think there's a lot of talk where people say, I don't get the time to focus on that stuff. I don't get time to run a workshop with the team on estimation because I'm too delivery focused, or I've got to be too delivery focused. And it started to reach a point where it makes me quite cross now, makes me quite angry, because we're all delivery focused, otherwise we wouldn't do the job. And I think sometimes we just focus in the wrong areas. I don't think it's always intentional. I think sometimes it can be kind of the driver or the pressure from above or from sideways or whatever it might be. And we kind of revert to this, almost this project management, right? Where are we with this task? Right, you need to go and do, and you start managing people's time, managing the delivery at is it the macro or the micro level, rather than kind of sitting almost above the team and just helping them and support. And what I noticed as well is for me at least, when I kind of sit back a little bit and I don't get too close to the delivery, I don't get too close to the technical stuff, I then am able to actually notice more things that are maybe paining us that we didn't realise. And then when we've got some time, we can go and address those things.
Cool. Makes sense. We're sure we'll dive further into that. But rolling it back slightly, like what's the journey so far been, if you like? What's the comic book strip, high level version of how you got to where you are as a Scrum Master or team coach?
I don't really know. I think I kind of fell into it. So I never knew what I wanted to do. I went to university when I was like 21, 22 maybe, and I went to do comedy. So I've got a degree in comedy, which is always nice when my wife tells me I'm not funny, because I'll go and get the degree off the wall and just tap the glass.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go get a job in a call centre, because that's what my mum had done, and she made quite good money at the time. And I was like, I'll stay there for a year and then I'll go to a call centre somewhere else that's more than minimum wage. And I was really bored all the time, and I was just kind of really nosy and what are they doing over there? And I started to learn more about project management, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I really like the problem solving stuff that they were doing. And then I ended up starting an apprenticeship for project management.
That's interesting. I've never really heard of that before.
It was a really good opportunity, because when I speak to most project managers, they all fall into it. They're team managers or whatever it might be. And ended up finishing that. It took 2-3 years. And then my organisation did a full kind of transformation. Yeah. So we overnight kind of became Scrum Masters, got training, things like that. And I really struggled at the start. I think in hindsight, because I was bored, but I didn't really understand the nuances and differences. It was just kind of working with a semi-permanent team and having these new meetings drop in, these ceremonies, and I was really just going through the motions. And then I worked with a really, really good RTE who I had a great relationship with and helped me see what I was doing. And it was also at the time when I got diagnosed with ADHD. And so I started taking medication for that. And it was like suddenly all the things that never worked in my brain before all clicked into place.
Yeah.
And it really felt like I almost woke up and knew how to be a Scrum Master. And I think it was that I always knew, I just didn't understand how I got and connected these dots.
Yeah.
And from there, I just like absolutely fell in love with Agile. Borderline evangelist, though I don't really like that term because I don't like Agile evangelists very often. And just managed to kind of help turn my team around, do things in a different way, support other Scrum Masters, support other parts of the business, and really now kind of set a kind of career path for myself.
Yeah. Is there a perfect path to being a Scrum Master, do you think? Or
I don't know. I think I avoid Reddit a lot because on the Scrum Master forums, it always talks about how you have to be technical. And I'm not technical, and I don't think I'll ever be technical. And I think for some Scrum Masters, that's the perfect path, is to be maybe a developer and think I want to do something a bit different, go into Scrum Mastery. I think if I was too technical, I'd get lost in that detail and end up jumping in to help. I think wanting to be a people person to an extent, or at least a relationship person. Again, there's a lot of people who go and get their Scrum Master certification and then go and get a job, but I don't think you learn how to do the job until you do the job, like a lot of things, and I think you would struggle. I think I was very fortunate that it was right place, right time, because we were doing a transformation. I'd always say just try and kind of shadow other people if that's what you want to do, and try and find opportunities. What I've seen at my organisation from some people who've gone on to be really good Scrum Masters is they'll work in a team not working in Agile or Scrum, but that's what they want to do. So they just start going on the courses that we do internally, and then they'll start trying to pick up, okay, what can we apply in the team here and get some practice, and that, again, can be a really good path, I think.
Cool. What are the traits of a good Scrum Master in your mind from what you've seen?
I think, ironically, good timekeeping, organisation and planning, 3 things that I don't have, are traits that you need to have. I think pragmatism.
What does that mean in the term, in the context of being a Scrum Master? Because I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You need to be pragmatic. But
I didn't really want to say the word because I think we hear it a lot. But I think it's just, to me, it's kind of it's common sense and just it's compromise a lot of the time. You're never going to be pure Agile in a lot of these domains. So it's picking the battles. It's I think one key thing as a Scrum Master I've learned, and I try and instill in all my teams, is not getting kind of emotionally invested into the work, because things change so often, whether that's a priority call from somewhere else or we're blocked somewhere and it can't be unblocked because of dependencies. And I've seen teams get really annoyed about it and oh, well, we've been working on this for X amount of time. And I'm just like, let's just chill. It's not our decision. We'll move to the next thing. And for me, that's the best way to be Agile, is that ability to pivot and be like, okay, let's turn and now we'll go work on this.
Yeah. How does that work though, when the Agile community is so, or the product, I don't know, the people in our space are so big on the why and, being emotionally invested and taking pride in work, and we want the product teams to be autonomous and to make decisions. How's that balance then with just chill out? It's only a bit of a change in priority. It's not in our control.
Yeah.
But those 2 things to me,
And I think be passionate about the work that you're doing, but not about what the work is. And that makes sense in my head. But I guess when we don't often hold the decision making or the purse strings. So if someone suddenly tells us, okay, we don't need to work on this anymore, it's not priority, this thing over here needs to be picked up, then let's just move, and we'll move our passion with us. It's harder said than done. I think sometimes in meetings I've maybe spoken quite contentiously and said, I don't care about the work that we do.
Yeah.
And I think I say that to kind of make ears prick up and think, why is this person saying that in a room with senior stakeholders? And it's more that I don't care what we work on. We'll work on whatever we're told is the priority. We'll challenge the priority. If someone's saying, oh, this is now the priority, we'll find out why. And we'll potentially, if we've got the experts in our team and they feel the priority still sits on the older piece of work, we'll try and justify that. But I've seen a lot of teams kind of lose momentum or get quite disengaged or kind of just genuinely bothered, and then it takes a little bit of time to pick back up and get going again. And it's because they get so tied into the work, and then they're told, no, that's not important anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. It says in your headline, you've got a vendetta against work being boring. Well, I suppose the question is, how do you bring that fun element to what you do, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, again, I think it can be quite contentious because some people don't like it, even people I work with. I love a good catchphrase for a start, so I'll always tell my teams I'm not a doctor, I won't prescribe anything. I'll always ask, can we try this? Can we do that? And it really was as simple as I hated being bored at work. And to a certain extent, work's meant to be boring, I guess, but it doesn't have to be boring. There's that old saying, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But I just started seeing opportunities to bring things in that I did enjoy. So like it started really with the workshops that I do with the team, how I deliver those, with retros. So most of our retros are obviously now digital, but we'll do some that are usually once or twice a quarter. We'll come on site and do one. And I'll always make sure that we do something really weird that they don't know what they're walking into. And even when we start the activities, discussion, whatever, they won't see any link or any relevance or value, but by the end, the conversation has been flowing. And I think the more I started to research it, there's a lot of like studies out there, like how children learn through play. And I think it helps just with making people feel at ease, so the conversation starts flowing. So I did one with like playing with Lego, and we literally, instead of asking the kind of classic retro questions, we built them. Everyone built them out of Lego and then discussed it, which really helped bring the quieter people out of in the room. Because often I think if there's, especially on say mural, if we've got kind of digital post-it notes, people will either wait for someone else to put a post-it up and they'll put the same one up, or they'll wait and just not put anything up, or they'll just agree with people, and that's fine as well. But I think with doing the one with Lego, that did help bring those conversations out. I like painting Warhammer figures, so I did one where I had the team paint Warhammer figures, which again, I think they're kind of 50-50 retros and team building activities.
Yeah.
But it just made the conversation really exciting.
What did that
really
look
valuable.
like? Just so like I'm intrigued.
So I kind of put a quick PowerPoint together, and I split the body parts into areas of discussion. So almost like 3 questions. And then I brought in a load of paints. And again, I split them into kind of neutral feelings, negative and more positive. And then had them kind of paint, and then we discussed as we went. And that one kind of actually fell off into a less structured one and just became a kind of conversation whilst everyone was painting, rather than paint a bit, stop,
Yeah.
discuss, and that almost worked better, I thought. It certainly helps with the team building side. So people with like one of those internal systems you give feedback, and I get loads of feedback about how much they've enjoyed the sessions, how much they've learned. I think my ability to think differently, because my brain works differently, I think I frame and present stuff as such. People going home telling their kids, look what I've done at work today, and like trying to make their teenagers jealous. And then just before Christmas, I did an escape room retrospective, and I did video, so the team would find QR codes as they got through a puzzle, have a bit of a discussion, and then that QR code would link to a YouTube video where I was in costume. I think one I'm dressed as Santa because it was Christmas. Another one I got my wife's dress and makeup on and a blonde wig, which they found extra hilarious. And again, I think it was just those retros have always driven the most valuable actions out the back of them, I've noticed. They increase the team's camaraderie or happiness, or I don't know what the word would be, but just that team building aspect. And I think also they see a lot of passion that I put into it, because I genuinely love doing it. I spend a lot of my own time putting them together, and I think seeing that passion, it then helps them get on board when I'm asking them to do stuff.
Yeah. Is it ever a hard sell? Does anyone, leadership, management walk in, you're all painting Warhammer figures? Is any?
I think leadership and management, less bothered. I think weirdly it's other Scrum Masters and other teams.
That's interesting.
And I think, and I know that it's not for everyone. And there was a Scrum Master that had kind of a debate about it, and then I'd said something off the cuff without thinking about it, and he was like, actually, that's a really good point. And it was that often we're spending this time discussing these retros, having these discussions anyway. We can do it in a room and put Post-its on a board and say, start, stop, continue. Or we could do something and have fun. It's usually contained in the same hour and a half.
Yeah. It's not what you do with the time. I mean, it's not the time, it's what you do with the time.
Yeah. I mean, there's I will always say there's a lot of upfront work, and I do a lot of it in my own time. But that goes back to the find a job you love thing. I know that I can't be paid to do those things as a job, but they give me almost probably quite sad, really, in retrospect, but they give me such kind of passion and drive for the job. It makes me love the other bits of my job.
I don't think it's sad. I think, if someone loves something, I think that should be commended. It doesn't matter what it is, really. If someone's really passionate for Connect 4, then all power to them.
Yeah.
I like that. We've gone off tangent a bit, which is absolutely fine. Is it ever a hard sell with the teams?
So I've just started with a new team, and I've not done anything yet. I've got my first session with them on Thursday this week.
Tell us about how you're going to approach that, because there'll be Scrum Masters, people, wanting to learn more about this stuff. Like you're going into that team. What's it like?
Well, I actually joined them in January.
Okay.
So at the start of the year, and I decided, I work differently to most of Scrum Master, definitely differently to the Scrum Master previously. So I was just kind of ticking things along and just doing more observing, find out what the pain points are, what does the team like, what don't they like. And I realised if I went in really early on with a box of Lego and like, right guys, and they're not into it, they're just going to switch off. And I'm glad I had this kind of almost epiphany, because I'd have shot myself in the foot and made it really difficult. But I think it's about building a certain level of trust and then doing something a bit smaller, not going all out with hair and makeup and a dress.
Yeah.
Find out what they like, start small. So I did a few kind of icebreakers. I did one at PI planning, went down quite well, and then kind of the digital retro boards, tried to have a bit more fun with that. And I think making sure there is value to be had in the session as well. So I kind of found what's the biggest issue that they seem to be raising at the minute in retros, and how do I fix that? And very luckily, I think all the issues and pain points that they've got, they're not bespoke to the team. So I think I know how to fix it. So I love a good PowerPoint. I'm very, very passionate about PowerPoint. Again, it's quite a weird thing to say, but I do things in a different way. There's never any words on my PowerPoint slides. It's always kind of silly images and animations. I've started drawing a lot of them myself to make them fit. And I've kind of got a whole kind of, I'd say 2 to 3 hour workshop on Thursday, running through and really a reset for the team, kind of get our team contract in place. How do we want to work? I'm going to present the ideas of, okay, you guys have said these things are bothering you. I think if we do this, this, and this, it will solve that problem. And again, I had another epiphany as I was doing that, where I've worked with teams in the past where I've been trying to get them to do estimation at all, or get better, or update Jira, or whatever it might be. And they might say, okay, yeah, or they'll disagree, or they just won't do it. And I could never work out why. And I realised every time I was asking them to do something, I was asking them because it's the right thing to do. But I'm still asking them to do something extra that they don't care about. And I realise it needs to be transactional. So you say, hey, look, you're complaining we've got too many meetings. Well, if we do some better refinement sessions, and if you're updating Jira more so that there is that up-to-date status of where things are, I'll get rid of those meetings. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it'll work.
Which leads me into, I'm sure you'll document it as much as you can online. You sort of popped up to me halfway through last year, maybe, if I'm putting a rough estimate on it. And to me, it came out of nowhere, like this person posting some good stuff, interacting with the community. Well, like, what sparked that? And was it, or were you doing it beforehand and I just wasn't aware? Or?
No, I think I've done dribs and drabs, and it was kind of to build profile within my own organisation.
Right.
I think it was a combination of things. I think I finally started to realise that perhaps I've got something to say. It was late ADHD diagnosis that's unlocked a brain power that didn't exist previously. And I started to realise, actually, I'd quite like to build a wider personal brand. I'm really been interested in kind of branding and marketing for a number of years, which I've never had anything to brand or market. I'm a big follower of Gary Vee and a lot of the stuff that he puts out around organic content. And one of the things I wanted to do, which has started very slowly, I think it's probably a number of years off, was I want to take these kind of weird creative ideas I have for teaching Agile, running workshops, retrospectives, things like that, and actually design, create and release products. Now, obviously, to do that, there would need to be an element of marketing. I thought, rather than wait, I wonder if what I've got to say could find like-minded people or build a community, so that if anything like that then does go that far and I release something, people will hopefully already think, oh yeah, I know that guy, he does that weird stuff that I want to try.
Jab, right hook.
That's it.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Hello folks, sorry to interrupt this video, but if you have got this far, it would really help if you did subscribe to the channel. Because it's face-to-face, it makes convincing people a lot easier to travel up all the way to Liverpool to record in this lovely studio. So, like I said, please subscribe and thanks for watching. And what's the organisation been like? Was it, like, sometimes they get a bit, they get a bit nervous when people start posting, even if it's not about them,
No, so everyone's been really fine. I've spoken to kind of some of the senior leaders along the way already. I think I signposted, that, hey, I'm going on this podcast, and they were all for it. Similarly with my kind of blog, I've shared that at work, and in fact, my organisation shared one of the blog posts on their LinkedIn.
That's good for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think they had like 38,000 followers when they shared it, and then a week later they had slightly more. So I can only assume it's my power as an influencer.
You enjoying it?
Yeah, I genuinely love it. I've not written a blog post for a while, but I really enjoy putting my thoughts down. I enjoy connecting with people, obviously on LinkedIn and things like that. I think I have to remind myself it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of big ideas of stuff I want to do and try, and I know where I want to go, but it is further away than I've got the map for, I guess, at this point. But just really genuinely enjoying the journey.
Yeah, cool. So I don't think I'm being unfair to bring this up, because you sort of gave me the heads up. You were comfortable talking about it, and I'm coming from a naive point of view, right? So I'll put my cards on the table there. Your ADHD journey. You've referred to it a couple of times in this conversation. Yeah, talk us through it. Like what?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed at 35. I had no idea until probably about 33. I thought I was just very, very lazy. I thought that I was quite emotive and angry at things often. That I was just bad with money, and all those things are slightly probably still true. And I was in one of these kind of like a mini town hall thing at work, and they were talking about something. I don't even know what the topic was now. And I had this real bad tendency to just complain about stuff all the time.
You were that person.
Yeah.
Any questions? Oh, Jordan's got his hand up again.
Yeah, literally. And one of the people on there was like, I think she was an agile coach at the time. And she was like, oh, let's catch up after this. And we had a call pretty much straight after. And I was kind of just talking away. And then at the end, she was like, don't take this the wrong way, but have you ever, and she had ADHD. And she's like, have you ever considered this? And I was like, no. And I went away and I did some research, and it got to the point, I think I joke often, because it was a lot of like memes and TikToks and reels and stuff that are kind of talking about ADHD.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Again, I'm coming at it from a naive point of view, because I'm not on TikTok, I'm not on Instagram, but I see posts, and when people list off, so someone, I don't think it's a made up scenario, but it's not a specific scenario. Someone who has either been self-diagnosed or officially diagnosed with ADHD will list off their day and how they're thinking and feeling. And I go, fuck me, that's just Tuesday.
Yeah, well,
but again, I'm coming at it from, I've committed to being honest on this, and I am coming at it from a naive point of view. Yeah, I just, as someone who hasn't been through it, I do struggle with it, because sometimes I see those lists and go, fuck me, that's just life.
And I think there's a few, because I think I used to think that, and then when every single video just felt like a personal attack almost.
Yeah.
And I think often there's some of them, I think there was one I saw the other day, and there's a lot of comments talking about, oh, well, that's just this, or that's just being lazy, or whatever it is. Yeah. I think the big ones around executive function, so the ability to do stuff.
Right.
And it looks from the outside like laziness.
I never thought that, by the way. But so what I'm talking about is, got up at 8 a.m, went to the airport. It was really stressful. I felt anxious at security. Then my flight was delayed, and I felt more anxious again. And I go, well, that's just, again, it's my naivety. I'm open to that. Don't bloody at me in the comments.
But then to back the question back, I guess, have you ever done one of these pre-screenings? Because there's lots of people that do notoriously go kind of undiagnosed. And I think the difference is there's lots of levels. So I think my older brothers, when we've been talking since I've been diagnosed, categorically they are the same, but just not as bad. My dad, who I don't have a relationship with anymore, 100%, I'd say 90% of all of his bad traits are likely driven
That's good.
by
That's a
that.
good challenge. That's a fair point. No is the answer to that. I haven't.
And I don't think it's always necessary. I think if you feel like you're succeeding and you're doing well and it's not too much, but it had gotten to the point where I wasn't sure how much longer I could cope.
That's good.
Like every day was kind of a battle. I was doing this job that I dreamt about doing, and I wasn't able to actually. There was days where, and I only say this now because it's not the same anymore, but there's days where I'd maybe work 20 minutes a day, and that would be it. I'd either just be on my phone scrolling all day, or I'd get up to go and make a drink, and then 3 hours later I'm upstairs cleaning the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like this weird mapped out journey that I didn't know existed, and then I'm upstairs cleaning the bathroom like, oh yeah, I have missed like 3 meetings. I should probably go and sort that.
Yeah. That's very brave and self-aware.
At the time it wasn't though.
No, but to do something about
and
it.
I think it's only because I have spoken about it with my managers and with senior leaders and stuff like that now. And they're very, very supportive as an organisation. So that I think that's why I'm more comfortable. And I think had I been diagnosed and not been medicated and still struggled with those things, I probably wouldn't talk about it now, if that makes sense.
How can organisations help? Because I see, again, naive point of view, you know, what are the how can they be supportive, keeping in mind they're not going to get it perfect all of the time?
I think it's employing good people. So my manager's absolutely incredible. She kind of openly admitted when we even started this journey to think, I'm going to try and get a diagnosis. We didn't wait for a diagnosis to do any of these things that we've done. She said that she'd been on a course before, but it didn't feel relevant. And I think a bit like the Scrum Master certifications, you don't know until you kind of live in it. And she was then, we'd be catching up, and it was very trial and error, but she'd been doing research in the evenings because she genuinely wants to help. So I think good people that are passionate about helping other people. And I think good communication, I've realised as well, and getting those kind of support networks, whether that's colleagues or managers, seniors, things like that. There's a few Scrum Masters that I kind of have unofficial kind of contracts with, where I can, there's a thing I do where I have to, the only way I explain it to people is if there's stuff in my brain, I have to move it out to make space for other stuff.
Seen Harry Potter?
Like that, yeah, like the Legerdmans.
Yeah, with the
that's I could do with one of those. I use Teams instead. So there's like my RTE gets it, and 1 or 2 Scrum Masters where I will just info dump literally paragraphs of thoughts. And I'll say just at the bottom, don't worry about replying, just had to, unless there was something in there that they wanted to reply about. And I could write it in notepads, but it doesn't feel the same for some reason because I'm talking to myself. And I think that's why the blog helps as well.
You got me thinking about my own behaviour now.
Sorry.
Right.
I have a joke with my brothers every time we meet now where we'll talk about something and they're like, oh yeah. But they are much older than me, so they're like 50s and 40s. And they're like, I haven't got time to be starting a new life.
Yeah. I wonder how far organisations can go though, because there's obviously neurodivergence should be catered for. It's there. I don't think it's unfair to say that more and more people are being diagnosed later, and that organisations need to catch up with that. So we are probably going to do an event in October. And on the ticket site, I've put, it's not live yet. It will be maybe by the time this goes out. On the ticket site, I've put, although we're not going to be perfect, are there any things from a neurodivergence point of view we can put into place? And I think that's the best I can do at the moment because I can't cater for everyone in the room. And I do sort of stand behind that.
Again, though, I'd back it back that you say it's the best you can do, but I would probably argue it is the best that can be done because everyone is different.
Yeah.
So that is a much better way that then one person might have completely different behaviours or needs or whatever it might be than others with their condition can reach out and say, oh, could we do this?
Yeah.
It might not be possible.
And we will try it in the art of the possible, but...
So I think that's probably better as a catch-all
than not doing anything.
Than not, or than just doing stuff because that, you know, like I don't know what the list might be, like having quiet rooms and that sort of stuff. I think it almost feels more, and I might be wrong, because I think even the stuff I share on ADHD and neurodiversity and things like that, probably others in those communities maybe don't always agree.
Which makes it even more difficult for the people trying to...
But I think that's more personable, that if there was something that someone wanted to ask, if it was possible, they could do so.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, I'll share the list with you once it's out. Outside of the agile bubble, where do you draw inspiration from? Where do you think people could draw inspiration from that's not limited to,
I think,
agile?
It's anything that you're interested in. So a lot of my stuff comes from that I sort of apply to work and try and use to make work better is around gaming. So video games, board games. Again, you have to be careful at the minute, I think, with kind of pop culture references. I've done, teams are often now made up of such cultural differences. So I've got a good friend that I've worked with in the past from India, but he lived pretty much his whole life in India. And I remember doing a retrospective, and I built this board, and I thought, do you know what, this is incredible. It's so good. It's so funny. It'll get people talking, and it was around video games. And I think the opening kind of little icebreaker chat was around, like, what's your favourite game you've ever played and why? And he'd never played a video game because he's from a really rural part of India. And it suddenly made me think, actually, that we need to consider who are we doing these things for, and what are the cultural differences.
Yeah, how'd you do that? Just better. Be better read, be more self-aware.
I think so, and but I think it kind of turned the other way as well. So I started then making sure we were doing, like, so people always do like your Christmas retrospective and things like that. I think there's a few people will put the templates on LinkedIn and stuff, and that's cool, that's fine. But I know people in my organisation are doing it already, and I've started to be more aware of it, of doing, I don't know, taking the time to go and look at, okay, this person has, and you have to know what is it that they celebrate, what are the holidays they follow and stuff. But then I'll go and spend the time on finding out more about Diwali and say, okay, how can I do a retrospective that's not just pictures of Diwali, that could tell the story or could do this, and start to make it a bit more inclusive, as well as just kind of general inclusivity. So
that's good. We
used to go to a restaurant as a team called Hickory Smokehouse.
Shout out Hickory Smokehouse.
Yeah, I will take a sponsorship. It's like my favourite place, like kind of American barbecue. But they have no halal options.
Really?
And we had a new guy join the team, and he's Muslim, so he only eats halal. So we just decided as a team, well, let's not go there. Let's go find somewhere else to kind of eat. And I think similarly, when teams will just go to the pub, but they don't necessarily realise that maybe everyone doesn't drink, and they don't want to stand there and drink a Coke. I think Yasin posted something about it on LinkedIn, and I was like, that's a really good point.
Name check.
Yeah. So I started then thinking more about those things, and part of it's just getting to know your team better as well, I think.
Yeah, and I think even, like, you know, just younger people in general just don't seem to drink.
Yeah, so I don't drink anymore.
No, I've knocked it on the head. But yeah, so I think going to more of those experience type places, breakout rooms, you know, going for a walk.
Come to one of my retrospectives, that'll be,
I think,
more different than anything you've ever done.
You got to know your audience, haven't you? Yeah. So back to the comedy thing then, is that something you're going to pursue?
I don't think so anymore. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, because I quite often get a lot of people pop up on my Facebook as mutual friends. I did gig for a lot. I'd gigged with a couple of people who are now quite big names. So then they were kind of on my Facebook. And then just around, like, I think there was a mutual friend or like a, you know, your suggested friends, and it's like Frankie Boyle popped up and David Baddiel, and like people that will just pop up on my suggested friends. And I thought, I wonder what life would have been if I'd have stuck at that. But I don't think I have the mental capacity to have done it. Like, it looks like a very glamorous job when you see the people on the telly, but you don't realise that even whilst they're on the telly, they're probably doing 300 gigs a year and like driving up and down the country.
I listen to a few podcasts by comedians, and it's not easy.
No.
Because of the travel, and they go, especially from what I understand, you'll be able to tell me if I'm wrong, but when they're starting off and they're driving to like Plymouth for a £5 gig just to get the minutes on the stage to hone their craft.
Like sharing cars. I didn't drive at the time, which made it even worse. I remember having gigs in Brighton, and I was living in Southampton at the time, and these were unpaid gigs as well, or you'd maybe get a couple of drinks. And to get from Southampton to Brighton, you had to get the train to London and then out again.
Not easy down there, is it?
Absolute nightmare. I did a few gigs when I moved back up to Coventry, and then I kind of just thought, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Again, I think in hindsight, it was an ADHD thing. It was there's dopamine over here, and then suddenly the dopamine doesn't exist anymore, so I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you've told me not to go on LinkedIn. You've got something.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot recently about, I don't know if everyone does this, but we have kind of like your core Scrum ceremony. So you do like your retro, your planning, and your stand up, daily Scrum, whatever it is. And then we do refinement sessions as well.
Yeah.
As kind of an additional ceremony. And I don't think they're talked about enough. I think when you do them well, you'll realise it's actually the most important ceremony that you have. I've seen teams, I have one team do it, and I've seen other teams do it where your refinement sessions get so good you don't need a planning session anymore. Your planning becomes a 15-minute stand-up. So I started thinking more and more about refinement. How do I sell it? How do I get teams on board? How do I explain it? And I realise all refinement is asking the right questions to get to a goal or an understanding. And I thought, okay, so how do I show that whilst being a bit weird and being me? And I thought...
You're not weird, mate. I think you need to change that narrative.
Yeah, I think this is I have quite a self-deprecating humour style, A, from comedy, and B, from years of being undiagnosed. So I do quite often get told off at work for saying things. I'm like, no, it was a joke, I promise.
No, I can't really say anything about that. But so you pre-warned me not to go on my phone before this, and by the sounds of it, what you've alluded to is refinement or a refinement technique.
Yeah, I started to think more about refinement. So obviously we do the kind of core ceremonies. You got the stand-up. I've got to remember to name them now, otherwise I won't look like a good Scrum Master. Stand-up, retro, planning. And often I think refinement's overlooked. We have a couple of refinement sessions a week. And I've been trying to work out how do I explain refinement better to teams or make them really see that at their core all it is asking questions. It's asking enough questions to get to the answer that you need to be able to plan the work more predictably. And I thought a good way to do it would be using some cards. I didn't bring any with me, so I went around Liverpool last night and they had some in John Lewis.
Yeah.
And I think there's 52 cards and 2 jokers. So if I got you to pick a card, then let's try it. So I'm going to just go through the cards like that, and then you just say stop.
Yeah.
And that'll be your card.
Stop.
Yeah. So if you just take the card, I'll cover my eyes so I don't cheat you. You show it to the camera. Tell me when you're done, because I don't want to look up and accidentally see it.
There we go. Yeah,
and then just put it back wherever. And then we can, as long as you remember it, we can put it in the box. Because without refinement, if I was to just say, I don't know, is it the Ace of Hearts?
No.
No, it would be good if it was. But I think it's really refinement almost becomes the process of elimination. So you can say, is it a red card or a black card?
Black card.
Black card. So is it one of the face cards?
No.
No. Low card or high card?
High card.
High card. So you got to saying 7, 8, 9 is 8, 9, 10 is high.
Yeah, in my mind, yeah.
Is it the lower end of the high cards?
No, higher end.
Okay, so is it it's a black card? Is it the 10 of clubs?
Yeah,
yeah,
it was.
So the reason refinement is so good is you can get to that kind of point, but the purpose of refinement in a work perspective is it allows us to be more predictable in delivery. Yeah, I always hear a lot of people talk about we should be speeding up delivery of value, and I don't always think that's the case. I think it's much better to be predictable. I think speed comes with time.
Talking about, I wasn't predicting that to happen today. I wanted to let you finish speaking, but that was good, that wasn't it? I never had a magic trick done on here before.
And because it is about predictability, I posted a LinkedIn status before I came and I've tagged you in it, and hopefully we predicted that it was the 10 of clubs.
So using the power of refinement, my prediction is that Jack Hughes on the Everyday Agile podcast today will choose the 10 of clubs, and that was, so it's 9:58 now, and you posted that 50 minutes ago. So, I mean, can't argue with that.
Yeah,
you going to tell us how you did it, or?
I'm not allowed. It's the refinement. Refinement allows you to be that predictable. So make sure all your teams are refining properly. Right, be able to deliver earlier than you start.
We've got the episode title, "The Power of Refinement." Jordan Gough. Any final thoughts? Is there anything I should have asked you which I haven't?
No, and I know you always ask that question. So I sat there. I'd been thinking on and off. I need to think of something, but no, I don't know. No.
Okay. If you're happy for them to, where can people say hello, get in touch?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a blog on Medium under the Agile Tiger.
Okay.
And hopefully there'll be more content coming, and potentially some products, maybe free, maybe cheap. I'd like to kind of make some board games for people in the Agile community to make work more fun. Like the Kanban game, but good.
The most expensive board game in history.
And I think it's one of those, I know there's other games that you do at work sometimes where you think it's fun for work, but it's not a fun game. I want these to be games that you could just play with your friends and it's fun, but you could actually use them for a purpose. So hopefully they will come at some point.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
No, just thanks for having me, I guess.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been different, a bucket list item.
Yeah. If you did like this video, thank you for watching. And around there now, there will be a recommended video that if you enjoyed this one, you'll probably enjoy that one if you've got this far. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.